I think us understanding our parents, which is what I was saying earlier, we understand, like, we know they love us. We know that everything they do for us is from a place of love. Everything. But it's still, we are changing to fit the times as much as we possibly can. Because we have to survive this. And we have to survive not breaking any cultural like taboos, like don't do this, don't do that, that's not allowed, like this is unheard of, like it's all heard of here. Here they hear of everything's heard of here. So like it's mad. It's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame. They play the different rules, and they will be. So we have to fit into both cultures, it's very hard. We're doing our best. That's all.
Alright, 3, 2, 1. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jeoffrey Sarpong podcast. Today I'm here with Courtney. Courtney, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm actually so excited. I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited. So I'm here with Courtney. Mikey's also here behind the scenes. If you do hear someone, it is Mikey. Yes. Wave to not the camera. That's great. And the cats. We have cats here also. Can you hear the cat? Can you see the cats or not?
Can you see the cats?
They're on the couch. So we have also cats here. So that's everyone here. So first off, let's start this right. Courtney, how do we know each other?
So we met on the first day of work.
Yes.
So my former workplace.
Yes.
And I was put in charge of being nice to Jeoffrey on his first day.
It was very, very nice. It was good thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we know each other? Yeah. So I remember my first day at my workplace. I come in and then obviously I introduce myself to everyone. They introduce me, and then you're basically put in charge of making sure that I can acclimatize to everything else. And it was super cool to meet you because you were obviously like, you're so cool, you're amazing. So that was very, very, very good start because it's weird when you're in a new place, you don't know what people are like, what the vibe is like. I remember literally going to you like, what's everyone like? Because I needed to know from the beginning, and I thought that you were that kind of person. Yes, which is great, amazing. This is very, very helpful. So the reason why after that we start spending time together, we became friends and everything like that. But I think one of the biggest reasons is all those things that we have in common. And I think that's why I wanted to get you here to speak today, because I feel like we have so much in common. You're so knowledgeable, you know so much, that if we had just had a conversation like what we have, there's so much that I can learn. No pressure, just a little bit. Okay, so starting off. So you're from South Africa. Can you tell me about your experience from when you were kind of young to growing up in South Africa, but also to coming here? So what was that like? What was life like for you before the move?
Okay, before the move. So I moved when I was 15 because I came straight into GCSE here.
Okay.
But before, goodness, where do I start?
What was it like on the streets of what was your
on the streets? What age?
Yeah, let's say 5 years old. When you start really growing up, because the reason I asked, I remember when I was a kid, there's vague memories of Ghana for me. I'm trying to see if there's still, for you, obviously there must have been, so what was that like?
My memory of South Africa is the seaside, mainly because I'm from the East Coast. And then so Cape Town and stuff is on the West Coast.
Okay.
It's so far.
Yeah.
So, because your other experience of South Africans is you. So
you're from two
different ends of the country.
And the people are different also.
The people are different all over South Africa. It's very different communities. And I grew up in so my mom is Indian South African, because we don't really have ties to India anymore. And then my dad is colored South African. So just a mix of the colored community in South Africa is very diverse. But it's a community,
right, so
and then it differs by place it is as well. It's
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you grew up in that, and that was the kind of the culture that was instilled in you.
Like race was a big thing growing up because of obviously
in South Africa. Race was a
little bit.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Do go. Sorry.
But yeah, so it's it was weird coming from there to here. And one of the things I noticed is that there's so many different... My idea of race was either Indian, black, white, colored. 4 race groups in South Africa. Outside that, like, nothing else really existed. So, yeah, it was very strange.
And so moving here, when you got to London, you made that jump. Around what age was that, you said?
15.
So 15. So when you came here at 15, you kind of... Did you feel like you're already kind of aware of yourself at that age? Like you knew who you were, really kind of... You developed a personality back home?
Yeah. I guess I've kept that.
Yeah, okay. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
So that was distinct for you even when you came?
It was, I always felt different. I didn't really fit into communities here until I think now I have my cousins here, like younger cousins. But only in the past few years do I now have like more family here. So it's just like having more people to relate to here. Diaspora.
That's great. Can I ask a question on that? That's amazing. Can I ask a question on that also? Sorry. I'm sorry, because Mikey got the joke. So basically, the first one wasn't a spud. I was actually trying to ask for the mic, but you spudded me, so I had to like take the spud and repeat what I just said. And then I felt so bad because I didn't want to not spud you. My Mikey caught. I'm gonna ignore it. My Mikey started dying, and I was like, I have to explain it. I'm so sorry. But when you mentioned moving on. When you mentioned about diaspora, I think that's exactly where I was trying to go with the question, especially just to try to understand both sides and how it's been like for you. Because I'll go for my experience just quickly, right? Going from Ghana, so I came here when I was like 5 or 6. I don't really remember. So for me, the idea of coming from my home with a personality kind of really developed is kind of like a new concept for me. Because I remember like a lot of my growing up happened here. So like I remember as a kid me being back home, but I was just a kid. And then when you kind of develop your own personality, that happened here, but it happened under some weird... At home it was Ghana still, but outside it was Britain. So I was developing 2 cultures at the same time. When I came here, and obviously I went through the education system, you meet people, you develop the ideas of this culture, and I was still like, oh fuck, I'm in Britain, like, because I had no idea of anywhere else but Ghana before, and having to develop to understand that. So that actually leads into the idea of diaspora. Could you first explain to me what diaspora is and how do you think you've experienced it in your life?
Am I allowed to ask you to repeat the question?
Yes,
I'm joking. So I think I came at a time... Yeah, I came at a time when I was a very, like, angsty teen. So I was quite... It was both wanting to, like, the point where we start conforming, and it's, like, social media, and, like, you need to be like everyone else because that's what's cool. But also I had this whole other identity that no one here was familiar with. So I couldn't really... I had to put that aside. And it felt so... it felt weird.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah,
it was really hard.
I can imagine.
It was like squashing that side of myself to try and fit in with teenagers.
Yeah.
Because I'd left my friends and my clique where I was like... where I belonged.
Yes, and they knew
to
you.
Somewhere. Yeah, to somewhere with different... Even the colloquialisms. Like all the slang.
That was hard.
It's very hard.
What's your favorite slang? I was so funny.
What's my favorite?
What's your favorite slang?
Leng.
Leng. Yeah.
Because that's the evolution of peng.
And that's so crazy.
Because it was peng when I was in school, but like 10 years later,
we had to make
my cousin is in school, and it's just changed.
We had to make a new
the
word
lingo's
for a different
changed.
level of species. It was crazy.
So funny.
Leng is insane, but yeah, Leng is pretty nice. Leng is crazy, man. Okay.
What's your favorite slang?
I use fam. I don't know. I use fam a lot. I use pang, brav. I don't know. Those are my favorite slang. Those are just the slang that I use the most. That's a very hard question. Favorite slang. I don't know if I can say it actually on the one that is my favorite. So
you go censor it.
You go censor myself.
Actually, no, I can say it and put a censor.
My favorite slang is definitely yeah, sure.
No.
But no, for the people who have no idea, it's fine. Okay, so, but you were saying about that was some of the things that was you had to kind of develop when you were here. These different things you had to adapt to. So you're saying obviously the culture and like hanging and the kind of friendship, that kind of dynamic was difficult for you. But what else? What were some of the other things that you kind of had to like learn about this new culture that you were in?
I think in terms of, sorry, you were saying that you came younger, so you grew up with some of the culture. I came later, so I kind of missed the dual cultural upbringing. Okay. So I had like the single up until I moved here.
Okay.
But I think, God, I'm losing my trail of thought.
But no, I'm right there with you. So until now, so okay, then how do you feel now? Do you feel like now you have dual culture? Because you've been here for a while now, right?
I feel like in retrospect, yes.
You can see
but at the time, I didn't.
Okay. But now you're looking back, you can see how it developed.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What was that like?
It's like, so the most basic things I think start in the home, like of the differences. But I feel even you in the home, you'll have home cooked food.
Yes.
And that's one aspect of
my culture. Yeah.
Of your culture.
Yeah, what makes me, yeah,
that's still strong. But the more you level out.
Yes. No, because this deep is real as fuck, man. Because I realize that about myself.
I can see it in my head, but I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Because I'll go off that too. Like, because you're saying that, and I'm agreeing because it's so true for me. Like, my experience was that too. Like, when I was younger, because I wouldn't go outside, my culture was more distinct. You know, because I'll be at home with my parents, so they'll teach me how to do things their way. But as I got older and older, moved up to uni, I started developing my own personality and me figuring out the culture outside of me. Then you start picking it out. You start picking up some of the bad stuff, some of the good stuff. With you knowing, especially because you've been brought from another culture, that, you know, like, some of these stuff are known to be bad in my culture, but I'm okay with it doing it here. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm changing? You know, because I'm writing this thing right now, and I told you already about the dual cultures, feeling like displaced or like feeling displaced in another culture that should be your own, but you have this sense of displacement in it, you know. And it's like, that's just because you have this, I guess, idea that you come from a different culture, and that's so very different to this one. When in reality, we're just human beings, and like the fact that we can assimilate into this culture so easily shows that there is some similarities across the board, regardless of. But obviously, it's weird too because the places that are different are maximized. So like you see differences in two people because like how a Ghanaian culture is different to how a British culture is different will mean that those two people, their strengths and weaknesses are like more prominent in that way, you know? Like even speaking for myself, literally coming out of that culture of like the African household where you are kind of the breadwinner, the idea of the guy, and also having to do all of that stuff, that forced me to now like taking responsibility at a very young age, you know. And it's like a lot of times when I look out to my friends and they'll be like, well, you like chill, bro, it's not that deep. And I'm like, well, it's very much that deep, like for me, because that's how my mind has been brought up to have that perception, you know. That's something that for me was difficult to kind of adapt to. What was for you that something from your culture that you felt was difficult to adapt to this new culture as you've gone over too?
So I think the thing that
it's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you. Good catch. Sounds like a Spider-Man catch. It's crazy.
I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Did you forget the question?
No. There's a bug. Sorry.
Did I catch it?
Can you kill it? I'm so sorry.
Okay, go.
We can pretend.
Go ahead.
Okay, so would you say, because I know you talk about this in your poetry a lot as well, would you say that's your thing? Because in your culture, you're expected to be this certain way, so you need to be this certain way.
100%.
So my one is, in my culture, so I'm half South Indian, and half but the South Indian community in South Africa is what I grew up in. And by now, I'm expected to be married. I'm expected to be a mother already, because that's just the cultural norm. And moving here, and no one wants to get married.
It's so much different.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, like you need to get married. That's the thing that you have to do.
Yeah.
But here it's not.
It's not that. Yes,
it's not.
Exactly.
But back home, most of my friends, my cousins,
especially
married, because it's just normal.
Yeah.
You know, and I think adapting to that has been quite a struggle.
It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Interesting too. Like the reason I wanted to also bring up this for is how it manifests in art. Like I feel like that you've told me about this recently. So actually, instead of me going off, do you want to speak more about that? What do you think the connection is between dysphoria and art? And I think remember when you're trying to explain to me about that, obviously that thing that woman was putting on. I said a lot of things in something because I don't remember any names, and I'm trying to like say something from memory without no names.
So I remember sending you something on Instagram. No, I remember sending you something on Instagram about the woman. I can't remember her name.
Yes,
either.
but her. Yes. And she's talking about this dysphoria and also in art. Talk to me about that. What's the connection there? Is there a connection there?
No, but I was saying to you, look, all her ideas for her art are coming from her experience. She's mapping out her experience through her art, like literally just making it visual, but also telling her story, because as an artist you also get to tell your version of you get to tell your reality, and people are interested because you made this beautiful thing, and this is the reason you made this beautiful thing. And I just find that so I find that fascinating.
Let me ask a ridiculous question then. What is art to you?
No question is ridiculous.
No question is a bad question in this class.
Don't be silly.
There's no stupid questions.
No stupid questions.
What is art to you? What does art mean to you in the grand scheme of things?
Art, to me, feels like a documentation of the history of everything. Because I do feel like what your question is. All your experiences. Like, all art is just a documentation of someone's experience of something.
And is the way they express that onto something else. Do you think that the only way human beings can understand themselves is through art? You know what I'm trying to say?
Some people aren't creative in that sense, but some are. And I guess it's those people's way. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah. So, like, for a select group of people who are built like that.
Yeah, because some people just don't even like art.
And they can just function without.
And they're fine, you know. It's not like.
Do you think so, though? Do you think they're fine? Do you think there's not a part of them that could be more developed if they took on an artistic expression?
I think there is potential for that, but some people, if they are content, not. There's other, like music. Well, music counts as art as well. But I mean physical art, like making like stuff. Painting or drawing or like looking at art. But then there are, I don't know, everyone has that.
Their way of,
that, what is it, calling? Is it like a calling?
You're right, it's difficult to put the name on it, right? Because I was going to say purpose, but some people don't look at it as a purpose. They just, it's something like they do. Yeah, exactly. It's like a passion. But some people take that and make a whole business out of it. Because that's just how they are programmed. You know, it's a lot of work. But no, there's nothing. That's because the reason I'll go with that. The reason I'm so interested in asking this question about art was because I think recently I've been getting more and more into African art. And understanding that, because obviously growing up I went to a lot of I went to the museum in central London, so like I saw a lot of like European art, and that was my preconception of art, you know. But obviously you've introduced me, and I've also introduced myself into like new African art, and I'm just seeing just like how it's telling the story of our people. You're one of the first people. Yes, you're one of the first people. No, because we would go to the galleries and you'd be like, this is cool as fuck, and I'm like, oh shit. I never even knew Africans did art like this, because you don't.
Teach you something?
Of course, you teach me all the time. That's crazy. But no, it's true. Literally, like introducing me to African art, introducing me to like the idea that our culture is being represented this way, you know, that was always interesting to me. And like, I'm starting to think, what is there a difference? Yeah, here's the question I have then. Is there a difference between African art and European art in its essence? Like, obviously there's obviously different cultures, but do they make the art for different reasons? And if that's the case, what does that mean for art? Like, what does that mean for people, like, you know, for people who are like looking at art and like what they can glean from that? Because like, do we as like non-natives, even though we're natives, you know what I mean? But like looking at it from a different perspective, do we now have to look back, like we were speaking before, look back on these art and never to understand our own culture? You know, like the only way we can understand our culture isn't through the language, because they can't speak our language or we can't speak theirs or whatever. But we can look at the art that they made for a long time and that kind of infer what Africa was about or all of that stuff there. Do you think that's the case or not?
Or not.
Or not. A little bit my fashion.
You have to go the other way.
I know, it's too late.
Had enough. We tried.
Had enough. Sorry.
No, it's okay. What's better? No, absolutely. I think your point to connecting diaspora to this. Am I right? Just so I know.
Go on. Yes.
Is because, are you saying that through art we're seeing like the diaspora unfold? Is that your point?
Yes.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
yeah.
Like, do you think that's the only way we can understand our own culture now? You know, because like we were speaking before, there's going to be a disconnect between.
What do you mean the only way?
I guess like
the key.
It's like the key.
Is that the key?
It's the one piece. It's like no, I guess that because as I'm seeing, right, as our cultures more and more differs from our parents, right? Like there is no the only thing we keep maybe is the how we teach the things we teach them or whatever, whatever the fuck. But there's also like there's nothing for us to show our kids and be like, this is what Africa, this is what your culture is about. This is maybe because we're losing that connection between us and our grandparents who maybe they were like so embedded into the culture that was just all they knew. You know, it's like we're creating a new culture in a sense, like, and how do we still remain attached to that? Or do you feel like that's not really an issue?
No, that's a big question.
Yeah.
That's a very big question, Jeoffrey. Your mind is mad.
But no, but you understand what I'm
I do understand what you're trying to say. And I absolutely think you're right, because we see it across like visual art, we see it across music, we see it across, you can read the time by the art produced during that time, because it reflects the norms of the time, the ideals of the time, and I think if you're curious enough to want to go and investigate, there's like literally no end to what you can find out about things, about the diaspora, about all the different communities that have developed all over the world, like pockets of people, of cultures,
it's mad, isn't it? What advice would you give to people like going through that transition that we've just been talking about, where maybe they came from a different culture and they're here now and they have to adapt to this new culture? How did you do it, or what advice would you give to someone else who's doing it?
I think I still struggle with it. Oh my goodness,
that's crazy. They're like out in droves. I think I got that this far.
I think, I still struggle with it because it's still a learning process, because there's still some things that I'm here and it's such a culture shock. But I will, for example, say to my younger cousin, oh, this thing is awful. It's not like how we treat it at home. Like, it's different here. And then I guess that's how you just
remind them. Yeah.
Pass down the knowledge. I don't know.
No, I agree.
Pass down the teaching. Like every generation is still making sense of it, I think, as you go. But you're learning from past generations, I guess.
It's not. I'm just thinking about it. It's interesting too. It's not so crazy. Like I'm having a conversation, but this is like very real things that I've thought about in my life. So like I'm having realizations in real time, and I'm having to like deep it. And it's like no, come back. You can think about that later. But no, it's so true. It's so true because I worry about that a lot. Oh my god. It's fine. It's fine. We just have to just keep going. We just have to keep going. These are just the conditions. This is like Africa. We're recreating Africa, having a conversation, but then there's things around that can kill you.
There's a better life here, so we have to come here, okay? So
We're supposed to.
I don't want the bus.
But it's bringing you home. It's reminding you of home. It's fine. You know, it's just our culture has never leave us. You can take the girl out of Africa. You never take Africa away from the girl. Okay, to round off the point about art, talk to me about Jean-Michel Basquiat. What is your interest in his art? What do you think of his art? And how are you introduced to him?
Okay, so this is something that we are at the very beginnings of learning about. I don't know much about him. I know his work was very political. I know he was an activist. I know I love the look of his art. Like I love his style. I love that most of them are, or he has a series from the 1984 that's mainly based on jazz musicians and has like little Easter eggs, and one's called King Zulu. Yeah. So that's the one that we're gonna see soon. We're gonna see soon coming. Barca 2024.
I actually can't wait. But no, let's not get sidetracked. Basquiat and art.
So we're gonna learn more about him. So more to come on Basquiat. But I think visually I enjoy his art, and I know it's someone that I do want to learn more about. But I find that I learn best when I immerse myself in something. So that's why
you want to really get into it, yeah.
Got a book, Jeoffrey. So
initially, what's the thing that gripped you about his art? I know you mentioned
the visual, the look of his art. Also the association with jazz. I think the saxophone is probably my favorite instrument ever. Like I love the saxophone. I love the saxophone.
Is that one instrument you would like to play?
I love
it. Is that the one instrument? Is that the one instrument that you would like to play? I can cut it out, so it's fine. I don't know why.
No, I don't think I'd want to play it. I think it looks exhausting to play.
Yeah. It's just too much work.
It looks exhausting. Yeah. No. I don't think I have it in me, honestly.
Okay, but
I love listening to it, and I love hearing the sax anytime. What's your favorite instrument? Am I allowed to ask you questions?
Of course. Oh, yeah, okay. I should have said that. You know you're not allowed to ask questions. I'm joking. Of course you're allowed to ask questions.
No, I'm just curious, though.
Please ask questions.
I forgot
you were recording. That's the point. No,
okay,
that was the goal.
Can I ask questions?
Yes, you can also ask. Just show them whenever you want. Do you want to ask a question?
Do you think?
Okay.
Like a director.
No. So I'm going to forget my point. This is the thing. My mind just it just skips and it just goes, and then if I don't feel focused. My favorite instrument. Thank you, director. My favorite instrument is probably the piano. I think I love the piano so much. It's the one thing I want to learn properly. I think that's something I would want to play. I just like the sound of it. But fucking violins are super cool. Guitar super cool. I might learn guitar probably before I learn piano, because I think piano is just more difficult to read it.
So I think the thing that I would like to learn the guitar. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
No, I would like to learn. I didn't spud you this time.
Right there.
I'm so sorry.
I would have just kept going. I was just asking spud.
The fact you got it on camera, I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing.
Are you not embarrassed?
It's not so embarrassing.
I'm not embarrassed. Anyway, I got it right this time.
When did you start to love the saxophone? What made you love the saxophone?
Oh, because in my family, I come from a very, very musical family. So it's my mom's side of the family that I grew up with, And at all the family functions, there was always an uncle who played the saxophone, because there was always... So my dad played the guitar. There were uncles who play the keyboard, not piano.
But he would just...
But yeah, they could play the piano.
At every function, they'll just be a different person or just the same person?
No, like they get together, just make music together. So there was always live music.
Holy shit.
There was always live music, like in my backyard with my dad until my dad passed away. But all the uncles in the family seemed to know how to play the acoustic guitar. So there was just always music around me. So that's why. But I think the saxophone... I don't know. Are you laughing because you asked for a different reason?
For the saxophone?
What? Masego. I also like Masego.
Oh, that's a great segue. So I want to talk about music, actually.
But at heart, I like the saxophone because it just reminds me of like my childhood. I think that's why. And my family.
Maybe there's a connection there, you know.
And that's why, what was the reason you asked the question?
He's just speaking to him. He's not in conversation.
Were you laughing for nothing?
You can't reply.
You can't interrupt and then not...
Just break the 4/4.
Are there any instruments that you don't like?
Are there any instruments that you don't like?
The Esper is crazy.
The Esper is mad.
The Esper is crazy.
The Esper is mad, you know.
What are the differences between African art and European art?
Was that your question?
That was a question before, yeah.
Okay.
I think, that's good, let's go.
Sorry, we got so sidetracked.
But this happens
Apologies.
all the time. And there's no apologies. It will happen again. It will definitely happen again. But don't worry about it.
I think... God, so I do love European art so much as well. And I think I am more open to it now because...
The Esper is settling in.
Because... Stop you can't interrupt her. She was on the flow.
I was in my flow.
She was like, it's finally answering the question.
Your diaspora
Can we fire him?
It comes from the artwork, and you've learned to accept European art.
Let's talk about European art. Okay, here's a question. What are some of your favorite European artists that you've gone to like? Before and after you do that, there's a connection I want to make about what you're talking before for music. So before I forget, we do have to talk about music because that's like, I didn't even think of that, but now that's something I want to talk about. Before we do that, could you answer the question about which European artists that you liked, that drew into the art?
So I think, it was our trip because we were going to Florence.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to Florence, you see, like, the most famous thing to see is, like, Michelangelo's David.
You've seen David?
I've seen him, like, yeah.
You see
I was going to say in the flesh, it's in the marble.
In his marvelous form. And you've seen the chapel, the ceiling?
I have seen the Sistine. Have you seen the Sistine Chapel? I did see the Sistine Chapel, and I have a... That's another Michelangelo.
Holy shit!
God, I guess I really like him.
Well, they won't see.
I'll show it to the camera. Not that one. This one. I don't think you can...
They can see maybe with the light.
You can maybe insert like a little photo or something. But basically, it's Michelangelo's on the Sistine Chapel. It's the hands of Adam and God. But yeah.
What did you think when you saw that? What did you think when you saw that?
So.
What was your immediate reaction?
It was just awe.
Really?
Like, I think going to art galleries anywhere just make me feel so.
You know.
So in awe. It's just like a feeling of bliss, you know.
Where do you think that comes from? That's so interesting to me. So I have to say, damn, deep.
God.
You think there's that? What is that like? Do you mean like it's like a connection that we have we have innately with something when we see it, and that comes from God. What do you mean when you say that?
I mean, so I think what I was talking to you about, I messaged you about it yesterday. Mm-hmm. So there's a part of our brain called the DMN. Mm-hmm. Something modal network.
Yeah.
Dimodal network.
Yeah.
It might be wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, don't quote me on the name. But basically, it's a group of like very. So imagine your mind as a highway, mm-hmm. and it's like a super highway of just neurons in your brain, of like all your memories, your experiences, literally your entire childhood, and it's responsible for meaning making. So it's the part of your brain where you derive meaning from things, and so that's active when people look at art that they like.
Wow. So because just art? Sorry.
Or hear music or read poetry.
So that's always activated. But does that mean everyone has that part of their brain?
Mm-hmm. And everyone's is different. It's literally what makes you an individual. And it's all like your consciousness is thought to be in this network in your brains.
In your brains. What would you say yours is then? What would yours be? Obviously art, but what else gives you meaning? What else gives you meaning?
What else gives you meaning? I thought this was meant to be right in the end. How did we bump this up so much? What gives you meaning? So recently, what gives me meaning is my family, I think. And I don't know whether it's a coincidence that my family are very creative, very artistic. Like, I've got musicians, I've got artists, I've got lots of creativity all around me. So maybe that's why I enjoy art as a thing. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I also think uniquely...
What do you think, producer?
Go on, producer.
You got a creative hat.
I've got a creative hat. Yes.
And you made that hat, I think.
This is the first thing that I ever crocheted. So I'm proud of it, but it's cute.
I like that. That's cool.
I think it doesn't fall apart, so I did something right.
I would very much like a hat like that.
And
if I asked for one,
you're acting me on camera.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay, so I have.
It looks very nice. I would like to buy one too, but
I have all the components, and I need to sew it together. But I haven't had time. Okay, life gets busy, Jeoffrey.
It's fine. Just all here.
Your hat is coming. It's coming.
Okay, I got it.
No, I promise. I need to. So, something that I need to do is intentionally make art.
Yes.
Because I don't set aside time, and then I end up getting too busy with life, with just work and
life. Then would you say then, as you get older, or like as you're being able to find out more about yourself, your idea of art and that meaning that you have with that, it's now like you're realizing more and more how much meaning that brings to your life. Like that's becoming your meaning of life.
Yeah.
Was that what you would say? It's fascinating because I agree for myself too.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right?
Right.
I want to go off that actually. Yeah, no, because the reason I segued into that and the reason I brought the meaning of life question up from before is because I feel like when we were talking about art, I could tell, and especially when you mentioned being in awe of the paintings, because I've never seen them, but I can imagine what it's like to just look at this thing where it's just magnificent, and then you're just like, holy shit, this is something someone created, you know, and it's like something that human beings created, and like that relationship you have with that, I could tell that that gives you a lot of like value, that gives you a lot of meaning, which is why I asked if you thought art was one of your meanings of life, because I'm starting to realize that with myself too, you know, like I feel like when I was a kid and I did football and I love football, and like no one could ever tell me that football is not a passion for me, but like the idea that doing something intrinsically made me able to find out more about myself, it wasn't like football. This is so much different. Like being able to create something, whether it's I write something or a poetry or like anything I create, right? Like the funniest thing, the craziest part is going back to it. It's not the me actually doing it, because when I'm doing it, I'm not thinking about doing it, I just do it. But then going back to it a few months later and be like, holy shit, is that's what I was trying to say? And it's like, I'm realizing this about myself. And like, I know that for me, that is so important in my life. No matter what I do, no matter where I go in my life, shit like that the ability to like have a feeling, be able to express that feeling, and let that feeling like explain something about yourself to yourself. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to be able to not have that outlet. If that makes sense.
Can I ask a question then?
Of course,
Sorry,
yeah, of course.
being cheeky. Do you feel like your poetry is like an equivalent of what visual art is, or what music is, you know, in telling a story?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like your poetry is part of your... Do you speak about your diasporic experience in your poetry? Yeah.
100%.
So it's all documentation. It's all
100%.
like... It's all... You're like where I said earlier I would give advice to my younger cousin. You're making something which will reach a much wider audience than what my one piece of advice is doing. So you're doing it on like a larger scale. So,
but it's not.
That's amazing.
First of like when we both do it, like at the beginning of it, I'm doing it for myself. Like that's the craziest part. Like when I started writing, I did it to escape or to get the thoughts in my head out. And I've written poems about that, literally saying, started writing poetry, whatever, because I needed to get whatever was things in my head that was going on, because I guess that's how my brain chose to like process what was going on around me. All of that had to be processed somehow. You know, it had to be processed outwards. You know, like I had to realize that to figure out how I was going to do that. You know, very young, like literally, I remember like being 18 years old and like feeling like, okay, I have to do something. Like there's so much happening in my life. I can't just spend all the time thinking about them. I have to think about them another way. How do I create something that can like make it present to it, make people understand, but like not just by telling them, you know, like something in a different way. And like for me, that was poetry, that was whatever else I chose to do at that time. Even podcasts, literally, it was the same thing, because I was like, you know what, I want to understand myself, let me talk to people, because that's easier, because then I can have conversations and then I can discover more about myself, because I'm having this interaction with people and like they're talking about themselves and that made me think, oh shit, I can relate, you know. And so all these different things, like, and that's why I think meaning is so important in life, and like finding what your meaning is, or like even if you know it, you know, it doesn't have to be this thing where you just make it a business, but even if you know about it, you know, you can like have it there.
And do you feel like there was a point when you... Sorry.
It's fine, no, keep going.
Do you feel like there was a point when you figured out...
What it was?
When you figured this out, like when you had this realization?
It was a very distinct point, man, because I remember like, so when I was... How old was I? So literally after I finished uni, so before uni, all these things, I used to be an avid reader, but I never practiced anything creative. It was always just something I was just interested in, and I'd look at it from afar and be like, that's so cool, but I didn't embody it as a person. That wasn't who I was, right? And so like after I finished uni, got my business degree, I was in my first job, but I found myself in that job doing creative stuff. So like I'll be so bored, I'll start doing poetry on my little notebook at my desk, and I'd have no one to talk to, so I'll just be, I was losing my mind, because I was like, I can't be in this setting and not do anything creative. And I just found myself being terrible at my job because I just wanted to do creative stuff. So I ended up having to leave that job and go to my master's, and that's when I discovered it. It was just like a thought in my head at the time, because I still was like, I've never done it before, but like having that confidence to really just jump in and like put myself through that degree, because all I had that time, I was just time to, okay, you have this like inclination that you're a creative person, right? All I had was time to really just like develop that around people who had the same idea, you know, and also teachers who were like going to teach you, okay, if you have this idea, this is what you do about it. So like the master was crazy experience for me, because that's what made me really realize that with myself, really like take me from an environment where I was like, I kind of want to do this, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Into actually doing it.
Realizing from your story, I'm realizing that you were in that. Would you say that the position you were in, because it was such an uncomfortable position, it pushed you towards your passion?
100%.
That's insane, because we're seeing it happen. I think with all of us, we're seeing things like that happen. Like with, am I allowed to mention Ella?
Yeah, of course.
Big up Ella.
Big up Ella. Ella's been on the podcast too. Big up Ella.
I'm so proud of Ella. Like, my God.
Yeah.
And being in an uncomfortable position pushed her towards her passion, and now.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
But so I know you've been not pushing this agenda, but telling me about this for a while. And like, oh, well, maybe the thing you're interested in is the thing that you should be doing. And I do try. I struggle to find time.
Yeah.
I really struggle to find time, but that's something also that you've made me aware of. Because you schedule everything in, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I need to take lessons, basically.
Yeah.
Like, this is, you know?
Yeah, you have to make
so
that
thank
time.
you. I appreciate you.
I mean, it's not
Thank
me.
you.
I think if you end up doing it, and that's what I say to people, if you end up doing it, it's because of your own interest. And your own interest in doing it is going to outweigh any doubt that you have about motivation. Because that's what happened for me. Like, you talk about scheduling it. I had to sit there and be like, okay, I really want to do this thing, but I have no time to do it. Literally, I got the full time. I got all of these things. Okay, what am I going to do? Okay, I actually have to put a plan in and put it into my day.
Type A personality.
Type A personality. I learned from the best. Can't mention them. I learned from the best.
I wish I had a Type A personality.
But no, well, you say that now, but when you have a Type A personality, you're losing your fucking mind because, like, something was like, you know, and this. But anyway, but no, it was definitely that. It was definitely figuring out, okay, if I want to do this for seriously, I have to be able to put time aside to do it. And then, like, actually going out there and doing it, like, performing was something that was crazy for me because it's like, putting myself out there meant that I was now, like, responsible for other people. Not responsible for them, but, like, there was an expectation for me, you know. I had to turn up. But, like, even starting this podcast and saying, I'm going to post once a week, it was a responsibility for me now. I have to turn up, you know. So it's like, even when I don't want to do it, because at the beginning, because it's hard to put motivation.
Man, you train your brain.
You train your brain.
It's
like you said about the highway thing, man. You know, we're on one highway to...
So the pathways that are, like, joined in your brain that are formed, it's because of something called neuroplasticity, which is, for the longest time, I think, until maybe the mid, like, 1950s, maybe even after that. I don't know if it was, like, 1970s, maybe even 1990s. I cannot remember dates right now. But neuroplasticity, or the idea that your brain can change itself, is a very new concept. Because before we could do, like, surgeries and you know, people thought, okay, your brain is like a lump of mush. It's unchangeable. That's it. As you get older, your brain deteriorates. And that's it. That's all there is. But there's something called neuroplasticity, in that if you make a connection, so you make a new habit, and if you repeat it enough times, a new neural pathway forms.
Oof, that's amazing.
And the old one, kind of, because you're not using it anymore, it dies off.
So you can literally change your brain.
You can literally change your brain through habits. But you need to have the motivation to do it. Yeah.
Here's a question then.
Which is,
it's a beautiful segue into talking about generational trauma and young. I feel like what you just mentioned is absolutely true. Like, I feel like we're having to develop new pathways and new habits different from what we were taught, because we are actually realizing the trauma, like we were speaking before. We're actually realizing the trauma of our parents and being able to deep that and see, like, how are we going to support them in that, and, like, actually realizing that means changing the habits, and changing the habits means doing those things very, very much differently, you know. But on the other side of that, we're fighting against this, like, collective unconscious idea about generations and generations of hardship and how the culture itself has reacted to that. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about that union idea of, like, the collective unconscious and how Africa itself kind of, like, suffered from that almost, but also our ways of, like, creating new habits and new ways to actually, like, fight against that.
Man, that's full circle, huh? That's full circle. That's what you do.
This is what I do.
This is art. This is art, Jeoffrey. This is art. But I don't know if we started talking about it before recording.
I think it might, we
might
did.
have missed a little bit.
No context.
Little bit. I can't even remember the context now.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I remember it, we can slot it in. Yeah, no, I think us understanding our parents, which is what I was saying earlier, we understand, like, we know they love us. We know that everything they do for us is from a place of love. Mm-hmm. Everything. Mm-hmm. But it's still, we are changing to fit the times as much as we possibly can, because we have to survive this, and we have to survive not breaking any cultural like taboos, like don't do this, don't do that, that's not allowed, like this is unheard of, like it's all heard of here. Here they hear of everything's heard of here. So like it's mad. It's a whole different
ballgame.
It's a whole different ballgame.
They play the different rules, and they will be.
So we have to fit into both.
Cultures,
it's very hard. Yeah. We're doing our best. That's all.
We're doing our best.
Like we still love you.
Yeah.
Like we love our families. It is very. Yeah, it's tough.
Talk to me about Jung, though. I know you studied Jung yourself, right? Talk to me about how his idea of psychology can help us, like, dissect ourselves, but also, like, the wider...
So in terms of the collective unconscious, which is what we're talking about, all the norms, the cultural values, everything, and then a lot of symbolism in the case of Jung. So it's the idea that our ancestors passed down not just their features, their, like physically, their traits.
Yeah, the heritage, like the things
they passed down their conscious thought as well. Yeah. I mean, unconscious thought as well.
Yeah.
And it's all like a pool of just what's inside you. And I think what Jung, how he demonstrates this is through symbolism, through different cultures. Like you'll have, say like the mother figure that appears in so many different cultures around the world, and it's depicted kind of similarly as well. And I think it's a lot, like symbols in Egyptology are similar to symbols from like Aztec.
Yeah. These symbols, they all mean the same or different things in different cultures?
They mean like very similar things.
Okay.
So it's like the idea that we all came from a people.
That's all.
Yeah. And it's just passed down and down and down. And and we inherit not only thoughts and ideas, but we also inherit the trauma faced by. So something that you're probably going to speak to Rachel about, because she's going to go into lots and lots of very interesting things. But she always drops these very interesting things. She said that, so she studies malnutrition, and she said malnutrition can be felt, like can be seen physically in DNA 8 generations down.
Fuck.
So just not getting the nutrients you need in the food that you're eating is seen as like 8 generations down.
Do we know how it affects them 8 generations later?
I don't know the specifics. I think Rachel can elaborate more on it.
That's fascinating.
But it's just,
You think for us, I mean, like, there's a whole, maybe not malnutrition, but like there's a level of that in Africa, and like a lot of that I talk about. That I don't know how many generations down that could have happened in one generation and was recovered. So that we all have that in us,
Yeah.
And like you were talking about the generational trauma, I think the balance between the generational trauma and the new age, the fact that we have to adapt to like a European style, like lifestyle, that's cognitive dissonance that causes is fucking insane.
I feel guilty to be here.
Yeah.
I feel guilty to even be here, which is so crazy.
Yeah.
But genuinely.
In what ways do you feel guilty?
Like, because I know that my ancestors had a really hard time with these people's ancestors.
Yeah.
And there's just that level of
like
my goodness.
But it's so crazy because like because I always think about that, like I don't exist
in that. As in, like, I only know this, like, really, in terms of, like, what I've seen. I only know this reality, not in their reality where they had problems. But there's that, even if it doesn't affect me directly, because it affects the culture, you kind of get off the waves of it, just, like, slowly. It's like, you know, like, sometimes you just be chilling and then something will happen. You're like, oh, wait. Oh, yeah, shit, that isn't something.
Wait a minute.
That is
Wait a damn minute.
There is a thing that, you know, we all understand implicitly that happens, and it's like, you know, and it's that weird feeling of trying not to focus on that. And I've got a question though. Do you think you've reached a point where you're more, you consider yourself British in the sense of you've kind of been able to, like, not British, but which actually that might be a question for you.
Have I acclimatized?
Acclimatized, basically. I was gonna ask a long-winded version of that, you know.
Have I acclimatized?
I was gonna go off
no,
on
but
that.
I love that you speak in poetry. Have I acclimatized? Sort of. I think I'm appreciating London more. I'm appreciating just walking around with you, I think, and like, oh my god, look how beautiful this building is. Just exploring London. I think with you, with friends, we've been going out, we've been seeing things, and I think I'm very much a Greg's.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Talk to me
like
about
the
Greg's.
British aren't all bad.
Talk to me about Greg's. What's your love for Greg's? Where does it come from? What does Greg's mean to you?
I think that their chicken bakes, honestly.
Yes.
It's the most comforting
It's really
thing.
nice. It's very fucking nice.
And very affordable.
That's the most important part.
This isn't a paid ad or anything.
They can make it even more affordable by paying us. That would be great.
I need to do crochet a Greg's hat.
A Greg's mukbang, where you eat Greg's.
We need to market this properly.
And just rate all the different chicken bakes. Have you tried the steak bakes?
No, I haven't.
Those are really nice too.
I prefer chicken. I always get the chicken.
That's also very nice. I wouldn't put it past it. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry, I haven't. I don't venture out.
You don't venture out and try different things.
No.
Okay.
I'm a very once I have my order.
Yes.
I'm scared to try anything else.
To be fair, that was me. Like, I used to be like, I'll try whatever. And then one time I had food at Wagamama. I would never forget this. It's so petty, but I would never forget this. I would never have anything from Wagamama again because of that time. I was like, oh yeah, let me try something new. It's cool, whatever. Like, it's just a place, got nice things. You know, I even asked the waiter. I was like, what do you recommend?
Bad recommendation.
It was the worst thing I've tasted in my life.
What
and it was like,
do you remember what it was?
I have no idea. I can't remember to this day. That's why I've just banged the whole thing. I don't even want to try it again. I don't know what it was.
Man,
I think
they lost a customer.
Bro, for one bad meal, you know.
Crazy.
And I'm here also like pushing my audience away from it. So I'm sorry, actually. No, Wagamama, I love you. If you want to sponsor the video, let's fucking go. Okay, I got another question. Talk to me about because I know you're also very spiritual, and I know that the question might be, does that come from your African background? But you're talking about spirituality and what you've kind of like discovered, or what you've learned from that journey that you've been on.
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned that because I'm still very much on a spiritual journey. I don't know if I can consider myself spiritual because my family are so I grew up in a very Catholic family, and spirituality as I see it, like as freedom, as like a journey to yourself, that's not what Catholicism is. Catholicism is like the opposite, really.
Yeah.
How I understand it. And maybe I just don't have the understanding that some people have.
It's fine.
See? That's Satan. That's Satan. Oh God. No.
We rebuke it. In God's name, I rebuke it. We rebuke it. It's fine.
Honestly, I do love Jesus. I promise you.
Yes.
I swear.
Yes.
I love Jesus because my family instilled it in me. But I think in terms of the spirituality you mean, it's a different sense. Oh.
In what sense? What do you mean?
It's hectic, man. It's hectic. It's a different. Like there's still the pinnacle of it is awe and wonder and beauty. Like, I do see that in Catholicism, and maybe that, you know what, maybe that's contributed to my overall idea of, like, my spirituality. I've probably derived things from just loving my family and loving my religion. But yeah, Catholicism, like, you can't go into, like, a cathedral and see the art and not feel like there is a God.
Yeah, 100%.
In my mind anyway, because I think Catholic architecture, Catholic art is spectacular. And I think I've been surrounded by that, but also my family being so deeply religious. Like, I go to church every Sunday still, because I can't say no, because they'll be cross with me. So I go, and as much as I do believe, I know all the prayers. I was an altar server as well. Like, it was a very, you know what, actually.
Wait, you fed the people communion?
No. I carried the candles either side of the crucifix.
Oh shit, that's crazy. Huh?
Like, I was like, it's like the priest.
Yeah, and then they go on. Yeah, I remember the Catholic. Yeah, that's good. But no, you were saying before that. Like, you're naming things that you used to do, like, in, like, religion, like, not just religion, but your specific church, I think.
No, so I think my sense of religion, a lot of my sense of self, like, it's all come from who I am as a Catholic person in this community, because that's just the community I grew up in. And yeah, it was a very intense experience.
But here's a question, Dan. Because this is what I'm struggling with too, right? It's finding the balance between religion and, like, the things I was grew up on. Because I'm very much like you, from a religious household, believe very much in God, believe very much in Jesus. You know, like, want to, like, follow his footsteps and read the Bible. But also because of the other stuff that doesn't quite make sense to me, that makes sense in the context of spirituality.
Yeah.
There's that balance that I've been trying to find, where I'm like, I understand we are all one people. This idea of religion and, like, segregating ourselves is part of the human nature of things. It's like a human being looking at something divine and trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
But, like, spirituality just goes, oh, it's just all divine. It's like, it's just like, and that kind of makes sense on that level a little bit, you know. So I was trying to struggle with that. Do you relate to that, or do you have a different experience?
No, I do relate to that. I think there's aspects of religion that turn me away from it, like Catholicism specifically, because that's my only experience of religion. So my things that kind of draw me away is that there's very much an emphasis on suffering, which is quite suffer now, and you'll enter the kingdom of heaven. You know? You'll be rewarded in heaven. And I think that's very detrimental to us who, maybe it makes sense in the context that we're in, but when we come here, we gotta work like it's mad, and we are suffering.
Like, this is you're suffering now.
This is the suffering. But, like, it shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to suffer to be rewarded. So I struggle with that, and I think even the idea of everyone being born with sin, that kind of...
I remember I was talking about this, because that was difficult.
Me too?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I didn't do anything.
I just born!
I just got here. I literally just got here.
I just got here. But no, I struggled with that too, because it's implicit, because it makes you, and I remember I was talking about this, it makes you more... First off, you have this, like, kind of, like, feeling of guilt that you just kind of always walk around with, and then it makes you, like, the only way you can, like, get away from the guilt is to behave in a certain rigid way.
Yeah.
And, like, those rigid patterns, and nothing can...
And it's not really human nature.
It's not human nature.
Like, human nature is mad.
It's mad. Like, you go through all these journeys.
Like, you have to... It is a journey.
Yeah.
You can't be as rigid as I feel the Catholic religion. I'm sorry.
No, but again, we're not saying anything bad about them. We're just
sorry to God. because I don't want to say anything bad. Like, I don't want to speak ill of Catholicism.
Yeah.
Because I do love it as a religion, you know. It's just not for me. No, but the art and architecture.
You take the art and architecture.
I'll take the
just
art
one
and
of
architecture.
Your belief structures.
Just some belief structures.
And again, I'm being.
But I think all religions have like the same core beliefs, don't they?
Yeah.
You spoke about this.
Yeah.
I think in your podcast.
Maybe.
I think we did.
Maybe.
Yeah. About just the different ways. I think also. Okay, here's a question. I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Thank you, actually. That was very real of you to talk about religion like that. Because it's hard for people to talk about religion because they always feel like this like weird little, I don't know, like feeling they get.
So because I'm navigating it.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about these things anyway.
Yes.
I'm happy to talk to you about it. I'm happy to.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you for thinking out loud.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's also important. Like we were saying.
I'm also making realizations as we go.
That's why it's important, man. That's how it works. That's why it works. Speaking of realizations, that's crazy, bro. I'm on fire. Speaking of realizations, what's something that you've come to terms with recently, or like you know, we've been speaking a lot about this, like all these different things about culture and like art and like the relationship we have to that, and like generational trauma and young and all these things. That's a lot of thinking. There's a lot of knowledge. On the back end of that, what's something you've come to terms with recently? And if you want, I can go first, so then you have an idea of what I'm trying to ask. So for me, right, man, it's difficult. It is really difficult because I feel like when you get to a certain age, you really like when you analyze your life and you look back, it's almost like, okay, I can understand the story of my life. I can understand why I made certain decisions, but what am I going to do about it? Right, and that's where I'm at. I'm at that understanding, like, and I think I wrote about this in one of my poems about like being at that age where I understand kind of how I got here, the different angles of my life, you know, the things that I was struggling with. Yeah, but I'm at the stage where now I have to do something about that, and that's what I'm coming to terms with. I'm coming to terms with like what it takes to do, like to not feel like whatever, like, you know, chaos I have felt before, you know. Have some stability, have some progress, and be like, gosh, I want to do some things in my life. I want to do poetry, I want to do this, I want to do that. And like being the same person that's still doing all these things, but coming to terms with what that means, you know. So I'm coming to terms with a lot of emotions. I'm coming to terms with a lot of that, like, feeling emotions. I think I've talked to both of you about this, actually. That, like, it's very difficult for someone like me to feel my emotions. Not that, yeah, and that's because I'm very self-aware, but I don't feel the emotions through, you know what I mean? Like, I'm aware that I have these emotions, but for me to sit with those emotions is difficult.
It's so uncomfortable, Jeoffrey.
Go on.
It's so uncomfortable. It has to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It has to be. And, you know, it's funny you say this because in grief, like, I've been grieving for the past few months. And it's sitting with the difficult emotions is the only way you can move past them. But people are like, no. Like myself included. Because you don't want to feel them. You don't want to feel them. But yeah, no, that's very self-aware of you, Jeoffrey.
What's something that you mentioned grief.
What's something I've been...
What's something you've come to terms with?
What's something I've come to terms with? So it's going to sound very dark.
Come on.
But it has like a happy ending, I think.
Go on.
So I think genuinely, I think until I lost my mama in February, I'm going to try not to cry because we're professional. Yeah, since I lost my mama, I think I realized everyone is going to die. Like, including yourself. But literally at a point, everyone you love just kind of starts going. And it's an awful, awful reality that we just all have to face. And it's such a... I think because it happened so close to home. Because I'd lost people before, but... this was just a particular stung. It stings still.
You understand that literally.
But it just, I kind of had this like little moment of, oh my god, we have to do this anyway. And then how we counter that, I feel, is through making the meaning that we make in life. You know, that's the only thing that can counter the pain. Like, it has to be making our own meaning, and that's where all the art comes in, that's where purpose comes in, you know?
Goddamn.
And so, in a way, I'm also coming to terms with, oh my goodness, I need to kind of take control and do something here, because, yeah.
That's beautiful. Honestly, that's incredible.
It's hard, man. It's
but like
hard,
you said,
but
yeah, it's hard because you have to go through it, right? It's like,
yeah.
At the top of that conversation, you mentioned that, like, the only way you can deal with these emotions is by sitting with them, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I'm realizing that, everyone's realizing that, everyone around me is realizing that, and it's like, man, we're doing that as we age, too, as we have to balance, like, career and, like, love and all these different things, and, like, fucking there's a war going on somewhere, like, and, like, you're like, yo, like, can I just, like, sit in my little thing here, my little box?
Like, there's so much to figure out right here.
Right now, like, all the time.
Yeah.
So that's fine. That's super fascinating. But okay, cool. To end it, I wanted to ask you about something that I
very much care about, and I think Mikey also very much cares about. I know recently you were starting to watch One Piece, and it's been one of the most happiest moments of my life to hear that. And literally, I think they should see, but yes.
I don't know if you can see.
One Piece, please pay us. But yeah, no, and I'd love to talk about One Piece on this podcast, because I think One Piece is fucking incredible. It's fucking masterpiece, one of the best, like, piece of literature ever. But I know you've been watching it, so can you please tell me what your first initial reaction of One Piece has been, what you feel like?
Okay. So I started, honestly, I started with the Gear 5 fight between, so as soon as, I think it was it the first time he ever went Gear 5? I don't know.
Yes,
maybe.
Yes. That was a crazy
with Kaido?
fight. Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah,
damn.
I know. And I loved, so he showed it to me because I love animation. So, and the animation was insane.
Yeah.
So he showed it to me last year, maybe November, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to watch it. I need to watch it.
Yeah.
And then I think some time went by, we didn't really watch it. Yeah. And then I watched the live action.
Yeah.
And after I watched the live action, I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, we need to watch this thing. So we started watching it, and now we're on episode 540 something.
What's your favorite thing about One Piece?
Oh my god, I love it so much.
Go on.
It's so tragic, but so silly, and so beautiful. Like, I find it very aesthetically pleasing, as well as the story, as well as everything. I love the look. And it's so beautifully. You know all the different animators and stuff. I don't know at the moment, but I need to get to know as time goes on. But I think once I'm caught up with all the episodes, then I'm allowed to follow
and go back and
all the Instagram accounts, and then I can proper geek out, and I'm very excited for that.
But what was your favorite? Do you think it was it? I know it probably wasn't the animation, but was it the animation that pulled you in? Or
the animation pulled me in the beginning.
Was it the story
but
or the characters?
Story gripped me, gripped my heart.
It's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
It's
yeah. So I think it's the contrast between the tragedy and the
comedy.
The silliness, the comedy,
and the action, and the adventure.
That is life, man. That is life. It's such a. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I think I like. What's my favorite thing, as in my favorite arc, my favorite character? I don't know.
No, okay, we can go
Where
down
do
the
I
list.
start?
First, I wanted to know what's some of the themes that you really like about One Piece, like, as a concept, like, some of the themes that you watch the show, you go, oh, I can either relate to this, or, like, I like that they do this in this way.
I like that they address tragedy so literally. They're very raw with
the emotions this characters go through, right?
And again, I think because I've been going through grief, when they depict death in particular and the after effects of death, and you can see the animation like going crazy. So when there was a particular death, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to give spoilers.
No, I mean you can.
But when a particular thing happened, when
you can say it's fine.
Just
okay.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Also, go watch One Piece. Why'd you watch my show if you don't watch One Piece? Like, bruv, like, you know what I mean? Like,
so when a certain someone,
You can say it.
you can still not say it. But no,
do you know what? But I can't say it.
You're
even
right.
for
You
my
know what?
own.
It's fine because you're a new also watcher. You think I don't want to now send that and destroy that. That's fine. You know,
I don't want to do that. I think people need to watch it for themselves anyway. But the way One Piece, the way Oda depicts death, well, maybe it's not Oda because I haven't read the manga, but the way it's portrayed in the animation is like so close to what I felt, and I was like, oh my goodness.
And it's supposed to be
like they animated this
for kids, you know, like
how did they animate how it feels? Like it's too.
Oh wait, no, you're saying the animation looked like that. It reminded you in what way?
It looked like the feeling. Like they're so good at animating
the characters' faces or even the scene.
No, they're good at animating feelings. Does that make sense?
It's kind of. I know what you're trying to say, but it's so intangible. I can't have a picture in my head.
Like it feels.
What makes it feel like that?
What do you mean? What makes it feel like that?
What makes it feel like death?
I think One Piece are good at. Like the scene after, you could see the animation was like flashing.
Wait, do you
very
mean...
uncomfortable animation.
Okay, spoiler alert. Do you mean when like Luffy and Ace passes and Luffy's on the island by himself and he's losing his mind, and then when he's like going crazy, the scene the animators literally changed the way they animate it. So like you see him, it kind of flickers out because he has to like reflect how his mental state is.
And it's very like flashy, like flashes on the screen.
Yeah.
It's difficult to see. It's like, it just invokes the same emotions, and I couldn't handle that.
Really?
We had to take a break from One Piece after. Because I couldn't handle it, because it felt so similar to... But yeah, they're very good at capturing emotion.
Can I ask you a question?
In a nutshell.
Of course.
You're coming... I've always wondered, because you've always said how much you love the hospital show.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. Now, I imagine there's a lot of death in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
And you love Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
And obviously you didn't
It
watch
hurts.
Grey's
I
Anatomy.
cry every episode.
So I wanted to ask, what's the difference of that depiction like? Like what feels more real? Oh, that's kind of gross to ask, but...
No, Grey's Anatomy feels more real because it's just
people dying.
It's like more real life.
Mm-hmm.
But One Piece is, even though it's these bizarre scenarios with like such impossibilities, like ships in the sky, and like it's crazy.
Character blowing himself up to a massive
crazy.
Fucking ball.
But they still manage to get the emotion.
Yeah.
Like no matter how silly, no matter what, like it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense.
Yeah. What's your favorite like moment, scene, thing that happened?
I'm very impressed with this time skip. I didn't expect it to be as... I didn't expect it to be as hardcore as this, honestly. I did not expect it. I think I really enjoyed one of my favorites. So my favorite fight scene is the one in... Is it Annie's Lobby?
What happens?
It's where Zoro is fighting the giraffe.
Oh, yes.
CP9.
Oh my god. Bro, that scene was crazy. That fight was crazy.
That's my favorite fight scene, I think.
How they both grow as people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you find out more about his life. What? It's just a fight, like.
And Zoro, what's the style called?
Ashura's Wrath, the Nine Sword style.
The Nine Sword, yeah. For the first time, it is like just his progression. You see how he becomes now like that guy because he earns flawless writing, bro.
Yeah.
Flawless fucking.
But
writing.
even that, there's an element of like visually.
Yeah.
I love the. Oh, but do you like things for the same reason? Just because visually you like the.
Yeah.
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 What?
Because he can't speak. You're asking the questions and he doesn't want to interrupt. So he's like, yes.
I'm
Because if he starts going, he knows he would just go. So
But
he's
you
trying
said
not
you
to
can
speak.
talk as well.
But he's asking questions and like kind of like doing the. I can't get it. I see it. I see him trying.
Fair
He's trying
enough,
for
I'm
you.
sorry.
Okay. Here's a. Let's wrap it up here. But I've got a final question.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I always give the opportunity for the person that's being spoken to ask me a question, because I feel like I've been peppering you with questions, and that's all well and good.
Oh my goodness.
But you can ask me any question that you always thought about asking, something maybe from today. But is there anything that comes to mind? Anything you want to know?
Yeah, sorry, we were talking about Basquiat earlier.
Yes.
And what's your
Yes.
interest?
Okay.
Since we're also going to see him soon. We're going to
also
see
gonna see Basquiat.
3 Basquiats very soon. Barca.
I'm trying to contain my excitement until it actually happens. Let's try and be mute about this, but I'm so very, very excited. What does Basquiat mean to me? I think I was discussing this with you actually, talking about what I think his art represents, and I think it was more about how him as a person, and then obviously how he chose to express his art. So obviously him as a person, you know, whatever, I grew up in New York, kind of Brooklyn, all that stuff, and I learned a lot about him because I learned a lot about Jay-Z, and then he was his favorite artist, and I was like looking into Basquiat, and I was like, oh my god, like his art came a bit later because his art is very, it's very abstract, so you have to kind of understand his context. So you actually look at what he's drawing and be like, oh my god, this is crazy, you know. But then once I did that and I started looking at his art, I started realizing there was like I felt a connection in how he was trying to express himself, if that makes sense. It's like he was doing what that like all these artists were doing. Like he learned the trade, he learned how to actually do it properly, but he was doing it his own way, and he wasn't going to get boxed in by the idea that you have to paint like Baroque art or like, you know, like really, really nicely drawn art. He was just going to draw squiggles and lines that meant something to him, but it was all part of a massive piece, you know. And so to me, that's what I learned from him, like more specifically, or more like related a lot to him, because I was like,
question. Sorry.
Of course.
Do you feel like you learned about the African diaspora in, where is it, in Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn,
at the time in the 1980s. Do you feel like you learned about that through his art?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. And it was also because exactly that, because he was expressing himself through such a unique way that like he would have like weird fucking things that you have to go research, and then once you research that, you go, oh wait, this is deep, because he understands, you know, exactly. So he kind of introduced it through his art, which is something that I don't do yet, but I think the more I can understand about my Africa, the more I get to understand about Africa, I can, you know, get to a stage where I can express that, you know, if that's possible, you know. But no, that's an amazing question. Thank you so much for asking that. And thank you so much for doing this. This has been amazing. I'm so glad we got to do this. Thank you so much to Mikey for for presenting, for directing this whole time. Hope you had a good time. Did you enjoy it?
Did you enjoy it? Was it like you expected, or was it?
It was. I was a little nervous. Little.
Yes.
Little bit. But yeah, no, it's been good. Thank you. We will expand on topic.
Of course.
I'm holding myself accountable right now.
You said it on camera, now you have to do
I'm
it.
holding myself accountable.
The last person you said, yes, we would expand the topics, sitting with us, has not been back on. So, like, you know, you forget, you don't bring me hats,
Wow.
he doesn't give me...
Wow. I gave you a keychain, and I feel like that I didn't make it.
I love the keychain. Don't make me feel guilty.
I didn't.
How else are you going to feel guilty?
I will always.
But yeah, okay, cool. Let's rush for. Thank you so much, guys, for speaking. Thank you so much for speaking to me. So much, guys, for watching. Until next time, peace.